Dark Pictures anthology continues with Little Hope, the second installment which follows a group of students as they explore an abandoned ghost town surrounded by a dense fog and a history of witchcraft. Atmosphere. Despite being far more cinematic and atmospheric than Man of Medan, the previous installment in the anthology, Little Hope doesn't really provide a lot more than a feeling of eeriness and mild tension. The town of Little Hope lays desolate and abandoned for 50 years, and all that remains is a single inhabitant who drinks alone in a bar. The town has many obvious ties to witchcraft, and there's plenty of Blair Witch-style stick figures and effigies laying by the roadside, but it's all very cliché stuff that's conveniently laying around. There's far less moments where the characters exclaim something and draw all the atmosphere out of a moment, which I'm really grateful for. To begin with, the story itself provides a lot of mystery as to what's going on, and it's not really clear what is happening until the very end. Whilst it's only very mild in its atmosphere, it keeps the theme of mystery going right up until the end. That's one Harry Mason.
You two, we need to stick close. What the hell? Did you hear that?
What on earth is that?
Okay, very good. We're freaked. Who's there?
Whoever you are, this isn't funny at all. John, where are you? Daniel? Taylor? Come on, John, where are you? This isn't funny.
Scares. There are a few cheap jump scares, and most of them miss the mark with me, with many of them boiling down to loud noises coming out of nowhere and things popping up on the screen, but there is less of them in comparison to Man of Medan, which in my opinion is an improvement. But the problem is the game doesn't really replace them with anything better. The monster encounters are cool and very cinematic, but there doesn't seem to be as much urgency. They're dramatic, but not frightening. It all boils down to decisions and quick-time events, and with some brief moments of what could be classed as combat, I found it very easy to get all of this stuff right. I found the quick-time events that made life and death such a thin divide in Man of Medan were much easier here, and as a result nobody died from a quick-time failure the 2 times I played through the game. The heartbeat meter made things more intense for a brief period, but often failing it never really led to anything serious. On the other hand, choices were far more important this time around, but were mostly just based around logic, picking up self-defense items and using common sense, and the failure to do so usually resulted in death or a choice where both outcomes were negative. It seems like everything has been toned down, and whilst there are some cliché creepy moments like the young girl appearing at random or the monsters lurking in the background of shots, the game doesn't really offer much else in that regard. That's still one Harry Mason. Sound design. A very subtle soundtrack of creepy ambiance lays low in the background of explorative events and changes to match the story, ramping up to include wailing chants and glockenspiels for that old school creepy vibe. Overall, it's mostly the same stuff from Man of Medan and Until Dawn, but there are some more memorable tracks present here. There's a lot of cool sound effects that are very well done with realistic spatial reverb, and dialogue is a lot better this time around too. Characters like John had some great lines worthy of a horror film. There's also some really subtle distortion that sometimes plays behind the voices of characters that's kind of interesting in terms of what it may mean. And I also liked how you could hear branches breaking in the forests and monsters grunting in the distance, giving you the feeling that you're always being stalked. That's 2 Harry Masons. Gore. The few deaths I had weren't very gory, but they were pretty impactful. I'm sticking with what was presented here was appropriate for the tone of the game. There didn't seem to be a need for a massive amount of gore, and I'm fine with that. That's 3 Harry Masons. Story. After a bus crash just outside the town of Little Hope, John, a college professor, leads his stranded creative writing group into town to find their missing bus driver. Soon they start experiencing flashbacks to the witch trials of the 17th century and encounter their doubles. The story is interesting, but out of the two timelines, the present, where you spend most of your time, is the only one where the story progression feels kind of stunted, with the characters just moving around town looking for a way out or chasing the schoolgirl before going into another flashback. There is a lot of mystery surrounding what is actually happening, and the first time playing through the game, it was pretty intriguing. On the other hand, I found the witch trials far more interesting, with various doubles being accused of witchcraft and executed unjustly, which you get very little interaction in and have to watch painfully as things play out. There's a lot of dramatic moments I wish I got a say in. Whilst the twist ending may feel like a cop-out to some, it made the second playthrough more fascinating as the events of the game were just more interesting with the knowledge the ending provided. I won't spoil it, but I feel that some people may either love it or hate it. On the plus side, it's more cohesive than Man of Medan. There were no jumps in the story that didn't make any sense, and even when I chose some weird choices in the second playthrough, it never left me feeling like I missed anything, making the final score 4 out of 5 Harry Masons. In my opinion, Little Hope is a massive improvement over the previous entries and feels more organic than both Man of Medan and Until Dawn. I really like this game, but it mimics Silent Hill way too much, with the group following a black-haired schoolgirl through a foggy abandoned ghost town. And whilst the ending makes for an interesting plot twist, it may give the player a feeling like the whole thing was a waste of time. Again, I'd like to remind you this whole thing is down to my opinion in horror games, and if you don't share this opinion, then that's cool, I get it. I'd like to point out that whilst I am looking forward to the next installment, I did not scream like a banshee or run away from the computer, and I advise you don't either. There will be more horror reviews in the pipeline, and thanks for watching. You can always go check out Bumps in the middle of the night. Peace.